Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. The Atlanta Braves
suck
24 straight scoreless innings. And listen, we can talk about Bryce Elder all the time. I mean, the guy is terrible. I mean, and it's funny because he'll show up one day and then look fantastic like he did last week against the Brewers. And I think I mentioned it on yesterday's show. I have no idea why they decided it was a good idea to pitch Bryce Elder against the same team a week later. We said yesterday it's probably not going to be good. The Braves are going to have to score a lot of runs. And by the second inning, you're like, with this Braves offense, you can pretty much turn the game off. And that's exactly that's exactly what I did too. I mean, I checked in a couple times, is it worth turning it back? Oh, nope. Now it's 10-0. And then, but I think really the story, and we've been talking about it, but it's the biggest thing. There's no football. There's no basketball. We're watching the Braves every single day, banging our heads against the wall because this offense sucks and they did nothing about it to fix it. And now there's all sorts of stats, right, that we can go to. The Braves are now the 25th ranked team in all of baseball when it comes to producing runs. That is second worst in the National League. And you can point to injuries, but at some point, there's so many things have gone wrong.
It's a culmination of so many different things. But when you get to the trade deadline, you had an opportunity to potentially mediate those concerns, and whether it was injuries, whether it was our own shortcomings, guys not living up to the potential, there was an opportunity at the trade deadline to get even average ball players in the building. And we balked at the idea for whatever reason, prices, health, maybe getting healthier, expecting your own guys to kind of rebound for whatever it is. It's a culmination of things. And it's past the point of the only hope we have, and I said it, we are at hope and prayer point where it's we just hope that a few guys are hot when we get into October. Hell, I hope we get a few guys hot to October because we might not make the playoffs.
No, I mean, without a doubt, you're a game and a half. You're in the last wild card spot. You're a game and a half against the Mets. I mean, about the only positive things we've been able to talk about the Braves, because they had a little stretch there, but it's mostly been the Mets starting to play bad and the Phillies in this atrocious second half. Otherwise, they would be not in the playoff spot, and they'd be 15 games back in the division if the Phillies would just get their heads out of their butts, which is going to happen eventually. And so, to me, the division is still a far-fetched pipe dream. The only really way I could see the Braves winning it is if they really dominate the Phillies in the two series they have remaining, but nothing suggests that this team can do that. And there's this aspect that is kind of starting to piss me off, right? And it was fine when it was May. It was fine when it was June. But at the end of the day, we're sitting here and we're not pitching Chris Sale. We're waiting to pitch him once every 7 days or whatever. You're wasting 5 starts, which you assume would probably be 4 wins based on how the season has gone for Chris Sale. And those 4 or 5 wins are probably going to be the difference in the wild card if you miss the playoffs. And in this entire season has been, oh, well, the Braves, this false assumption that that Brian Snitker has had at the podium, that Alex Anthopoulos had at the trade deadline, that, oh, well, we'll just get in the playoffs and we've seen anything can happen. Well, now we're here where it's there's no guarantee to get in the playoffs. We've been resting all these guys for October, buddy. It's time to giddy up and get on the horse. October is around the corner, and we may not be there if we keep taking things cautiously because, listen, you're going to waste a Chris Sale Cy Young campaign. And at this point, it's what the hell are we saving him for? He's under contract for one more season. If you're just going to punt on this season, I mean, throw him till his arm falls off at this point. We're past the point where it's let's give Chris Sale an extra day of rest. Let's go to a 6-man rotation. No, screw all that. It's time to put all our best foot forward and go win ball games because we know the offense isn't going to do it. You need Chris Sale out there once every 5 days. Schwellenbach out there once every 5 days. Even Charlie Morton every 5 days. I don't need to see Bryce Elder anymore. Dylan Dodd, I don't need to see that guy. Alan Winans, Darius Mines, whoever the hell they keep throwing out there to make us watch because, we got to rest these guys for the stretch run and postseason. Buddy, this is the stretch run because we're not getting to the postseason unless those guys are on the mound.
Yeah, at one point, those were all valid, excuses. And they weren't excuses. They were points. And I was making them. It's at this point, talking, a month before the deadline, leading up to the deadline, it was kind of the division is out of hand. We were still comfortable in the wild card at that point. let's still roll with the 6-man rotation. Let's save our horses for the stretch run. That, and Alex Anthopoulos' point at the deadline or post deadline, the wild card still was not this close. Like when he spoke about it in the booth, where he was like, just getting into the dance, referencing the Diamondbacks, the Phillies the year before. All of those things are true. They are no longer true now. Like, there is no guarantee that this Braves team makes the postseason. This will be one of the biggest disappointments in my sports fandom of Atlanta in quite some time if this Atlanta Braves team does not make the postseason. You could chalk it up to injuries. You could chalk it up to internal disappointments. You could chalk it up to a quiet deadline. Whatever you want to chalk it up to, it's pathetic. There's no excuse for any of it. There was chance after chance to kind of, fix it at certain points in times, and at this juncture, still throwing Bryce out. Like, it's not even like, last night's win or loss really cemented the Braves in the like, we were in the thick of things last night. Like, last night was not like we don't really need this one. Every game matters now from here to October. Every single game.
Yeah. And listen, here's the glass half full, because we've covered the glass half empty version. And I do expect, I don't know how the hell the Braves could sit here and not start Chris Sale every 5 days. He gives you the best chance to win every 5 days, and you need to be going after every possible win that you can at this point. If I see him rested for 6 days, I might have an aneurysm. It's that stupid at this point. But here's the glass half full perspective. I have said this year after year after year that there is a significant advantage for teams that in August start having to play with their butts on fire and having to win every game.
Our backs are against the wall.
Like every game feels like a postseason. When you play a month and a half of baseball where every game feels like it's do or die, and then you get into the postseason, you don't have a bye, and it is do or die for 2 out of 3 games in the wild card, and you win that, and you go into that NLDS against a team that's probably been coasting like we see the Phillies doing, not playing good baseball. It's a significant advantage. So it's time to giddy up and get on the horse. Like, it's time for everyone. You want to talk about team meeting. It's time for everyone to sit down and say, hey, man, this playoff thing is slipping out of our grasp. We need to do something about it, and let's go. Now, I'm not saying call for a team meeting, but it needs to be just a zoned in focus on the way that we approach things, the way that we throw our pitchers. It should have been at the trade deadline, honestly, yes. And we didn't do that. But still, there's an advantage to it if you can do it the right way. So it could work out in the Braves' favor. But it's time, like I said, giddy up and get on that course and start treating every game like it's a playoff game, because it is. And if you can't get to an October and you don't give yourself a chance, it will be incredibly disappointing for a club, especially a club with such a good pitching staff that has maybe potentially the NL Cy Young on it. One of the best pitchers in baseball in Max Fried. Ronaldo Lopez, who's had this all-star campaign. Spencer Schwellenbach, who's one of the best young pitchers up and coming right now of this season. And then you have Charlie Morton in the 5th spot, and then an elite bullpen. And you're telling me you can't get to the playoffs with that? That would be incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that optimism, the West Coast trip is scoreable if you want to relate it to golf. Like, we have a great opportunity 1 week's time from today, barring any setbacks. We will not see Eddie Rosario or Ramon Laureano in the outfield because Michael Harris will be back. He'll be playing every single day. My thought is Jorge Soler will slot in every day at right field, and then left field we'll only see Adam Duvall against lefties, which he's done pretty well. He sucks as a whole, but that's just because he's literally not been able to hit righty pitchers at all. And then Jared Kelenic in a platoon role, so that sparks some optimism. And then a little bit after that, less than a week after that, we'll get Ronaldo Lopez right before the Philly series, which has, if the Phillies don't get their heads out of their butts, has NL East implications. That series does at the end of August. So those are, to build off the optimism talking points.
Which is wild to talk about.
That's crazy.
I feel like I shouldn't even be discussing.
They're giving it away. The Phillies are pushing the NL East towards us, and the Braves are like, no, you take. I don't want it.
Yeah, well, it's like two teams that have it's like the Phillies realize they don't want to win the division after what's happened. The Braves are like, you know what, you take it.
It's like that Falcons-Chargers game from a few years back where we throw in it, or they threw an interception, we get it, or we get a fumble, then we fumble it right back to them, and then we go back. They miss a field goal, then we miss a field. It's like, I don't want want
And
to
then
win,
the Mets
you
are
win.
starting to do the same thing. They're like,
Yep.
you know what? Hey, we're right back in it. Oh, we're gonna go get swept by the Angels.
Well, we're
and lose
used
to, the
to
Rockies.
it with the Falcons. Like this is like, the Braves. This isn't you. This isn't you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I said it. I've said it a couple times. I think I've said it on this show. I've said it on social media. This is, how many times at this
is
time
a
of year?
weird season.
How many times at this point of year in August are you more excited? Like it literally, you have to think back to 2017.
17.
2017 when you were more excited for a Falcon season than you are like the end of the Braves run. It's like, I'm like, dude, football, you have got to get here.
That's
Because
so
I don't know
true.
how much time I can sit here on this show and tell you guys the same damn
Funny
thing.
enough, the playoff runs are directly correlated. The Falcons have not made the playoffs since the Braves playoff run began, or the NL East title run began.
Yeah, so
that's hilarious.
Once the Braves 2018,
Braves have missed the playoffs this year, and the Falcons make it. Something's going on.
Yeah, I let's hope they both make it.
Yeah, let's just both.
I don't like those trends. I don't believe in jinxes and weird trends like that. Let's hope they both make it. I'm not dead on the Braves, but God, it is painful.
It's hard to watch.
Win or lose, it's been painful to watch. Like even when you win, you score 4 runs and then you don't score the rest of the game. That's how it's been this year for the Atlanta Braves.